It's only been a short while since we crossed paths, and I've read your most recent book called The Life List, which I think, Nick, you've got a copy in front of you, haven't you? That I now understand why it's valuable for us to create our own life list. And given that that was a really foreign concept to me in the past, and I'm guessing it's the same for a lot of our listeners, Kate, are you able to start by helping us understand what is a life list and why does it matter that we have one?
Yeah, look, great question. And I honestly, I love talking about this stuff. A life list is the exact opposite of a bucket list. So a bucket list is a concept that, came out of the movie, The Bucket List, about a couple of old gents, and they were both dying, and they created a list of things that they wanted to do before they kicked the bucket. So essentially a bucket list is a list of things you want to do before you die. And quite often that list revolves exclusively around travel and adventure.
Mm-hmm.
The life list is exactly the opposite. I don't want to wait that long. I don't want to wait until I almost die. A life list is a list of things that I and my readers and your listeners, that we want them to do while they're still young enough to enjoy it. And it's got to be so much more holistic than just travel and adventure. My life list and your life list should be around, wealth and health and lifestyle and well-being, and obviously adventure and travel are in there, but also the relationships you want to create, the environment you want to live in, the legacy you want to leave. It has to be so much more holistic, and it can't be something that we put off to later, because later might be too late. I wrote the concept, and in answer to, I guess, the second part of your question, that I created the concept of a life list after my ex-husband was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2020. And 11 months later, he had passed away, and he was only 54. And it was the most brutal experience, watching such a vibrant, dynamic, incredible, but young person deteriorate so quickly, and to have to watch my kids go through that process. And I resolved very, very firmly after that, to live my life very differently. It was kind of Dan's parting gift to me, to make me realize, life is too short. It's such a trite expression that we use.
Yeah.
But now it is such a valuable expression that I use, where life is too short, later might be too late. Don't put off living your best life until later. You've got to live it now. And that's really the premise of the life list, is work out exactly what you want your life to look like. What is the life you deserve? And start living it today.
Such a powerful story, and such an impactful way to look at and approach and live life, because it's actually the living list, isn't it? It's how do you live and make the most now. And a couple of things come up for me there. Ness and I often talk about, it's not just about the legacy that we want to leave in business and in life. It's the legacy we want to live now. Like, let's lean into that right now and live and breathe it. And I think when we've experienced personal loss, or something that's so intimate and close, and it's kind of like the kick up the bum to go, I've got to live my life now, and life's too short, and all of that. And then somehow, sometimes the day-to-day, the old way of living can come into place. So what I'm really, really loving and taking from this is that I feel like the life list is the daily reminder to, you'll never forget the pain, and you'll never, that's always there in a certain way, but somehow, again, that busy trap, that chaos of life, that expectation of how we're living and how we're meant to be living can kind of sweep us up. And I'm seeing this as an anchor to come back to this, an anchor point to live life now. It
really is. It's such a great way of describing it, as being an anchor, Nikki, because it's about just reflecting often, am I living the life I love? Is this consistent with my values? Is this consistent with what I most value? Create a life list around the things that you most value. And for me, I've got mine down to 3. There's 3 things in my life that I most value. My kids, my family, my dad and my sisters, my partner, my business, and my health and well-being. And so my life list which is literally the way I live today, my week, my month, my quarter, my half year, my year, my 5 years. You know, if you break it down to sort of that business cycle, everything that I do is built around the three things that I most value. And having that life list front of mind in business and in life, it's so critical because it just anchors you. As you say, it brings you back. We are creatures of habit. It's so easy for us to fall back into our habitual lifestyle where we live today the way we did last week, last month and last quarter, because we're creatures of habit and there's a level of comfort in that. The life list is not about then living a life of discomfort, but it's about living a life that's very, very fulfilling, that does push you. Sure, there's got to be some discomfort in there. You know, I talk about 3 different types of goals that we need to be chasing every single day. The first is go big goals. So the big, hairy, audacious, climb the mountain goals. The second is to go small goals, where we need to have, you know, 4 or 5 really life-affirming, fill your cup small goals a month that we're constantly kind of working towards and chasing down. And then the third is the go now goals. The acts of spontaneity, an opportunity presents itself. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll do that. You have to be filling each of those cups in order to live that really well-rounded, beautiful life list, to break away from habit, to continuously say to yourself, what am I doing today that's going to fill my cups, that's going to get me? Where do I put the tick today against what's on my life list?
I love that so much. And what I know is that you are a living example of this and what you're doing. And I'm sure that for those that can see the video, they'll see this beautiful location that you're in. For those that are in audio land and listening to us through the podcast, they may hear a little bit of background noise from where you're coming from and being curious about what that is. So please share with us, where are you calling in from today and what's going on and how did you end up there?
Okay, so I am calling in from an incredible co-working space in Ubud in Bali. The background noise you can hear is probably a mix of roosters and motorbikes. It's the sun is shining. It's incredible. I'm living here and working for the next, I'm here for 7 and a bit weeks in total. It was been on my life list for a long time that 2023 was the year that I was going to experiment with being a bit of a digital nomad. I've created my business to suit my life. And I think this is so important for your listeners, Ness and Nikki, you know, strong, independent, incredibly resilient business owners who have worked their proverbial asses off to create an incredible business. It's also important to sort of juxtapose that with the fact that you can have and live that incredible business from anywhere. And it was really important for me to take the time out. Can I run my business from another country? Can I live the dream? Can I be living and working in another country? And you know what it's like. You put this stuff out there. You put your goals out there. Partly it's manifestation, but partly it's very intentional goal setting. And partly it's, you know, the rubber hits the road. I've put it out there. I've got to live and breathe what I'm telling my clients to do. Yeah. And so I'm doing it. I'm working and living in Bali. It's magnificent. It's all of the amazingness that you could possibly imagine. It's also the frustration of, you know, things happening in Bali time and me just, despite being a time management productivity coach, just not being able to get my head around the time conversion between here in Australia. My calendar has been going nuts. But it's fantastic. It's honestly about creating a life you deserve. And also part of that, and this may be relevant to a segment of your audience. You know, I'm 53. I have spent the best part of the last 25 years nurturing everybody else, growing my family, investing my time and energy in my kids and making sure that their emotional and physical health and well-being is paramount, growing my business, nurturing my clients. And I've got to this stage now where my kids are kind of starting to break up with me. They're kind of empty nesting, but I'm wanting them to empty nest, but they haven't got the message quite clear yet. I've got more time and freedom on my hands, and I still want to be this incredible businesswoman, but I want to do it in a way that suits my lifestyle. You can have all the bits that are most important to you. And I guess I'm living a lifestyle and creating a business that is true to that.
I love that so much. And we are such firm believers in creating businesses that actually prioritize our lives, that we can be getting so much value and joy out of working, but it feeds our purpose in life.
Yes.
And so much of what you're saying resonates with me, having, same thing. My kids are young adults now, but I left them, like I moved out. And
I tried that and mine came.
Oh, no, mine went no way. But that whole thing around, I remember going through this process. So I was living in regional Victoria, 3.5 hours out of Melbourne, and had been there 22 years, raised my children there as a co-parent at the time. And my daughter got to the end of year 12 and I'm like, well, this is the time. We talk about, creating the life now, because it would have been very comfortable for me to have continued to live there. I had a beautiful home, amazing friendship group. Life was full, life was fun, life was great. But I knew I wanted just something more. And then to make that decision and I remember for years it was always in the future. So that's a future me problem. That's a future me thing to enjoy. And then it sort of got there and I'm like, holy hell, like it is future me time. And it's scary and it's huge. And moving house twice in 4 months was not fun. But it just kept on reminding myself, no, this is about me now, having spent all of those years nurturing my children, having created the first business that I created and then gone into business with Nikki. It's about, I want to actually enjoy this phase of life and go out and live near the city and do fun things and just have a very different experience in life.
This is it. It's exactly where I'm at. And, I talk about it and I write about it a lot with the life list. It's our turn. It's my turn. And I don't say that with arrogance or with disdain or with a lack of love for my kids and my family, what I've created. It's more a level of self-preservation. It's more a level of being a little bit less selfless. It genuinely is my turn. And I don't want to continually give. I want to give to myself now. And I we're still young. I'm 53. I've got so much living ahead of me. I want to do it now. Like I'm so excited. It's got to kind of be now, and it's amazing. And the thing about writing and talking about this stuff is that the more you plan for it, and the more goals you set and share, the more it happens. Like you can call it manifestation. You can call it very intentional goal setting, and with hard work and implementing against deadlines and time management, productivity, or a hybrid of both. But this stuff works.
Yeah.
And if you spend time creating and working out what your goals are going to be and saying what my life list is going to be, and you block deadlines in and you turn up and you meet those deadlines, then honestly, you can do anything. And it's amazing.
I think that also one of the beautiful side impacts or ripple effects that comes out of choosing what it is you want to do and following that and making it happen is we become beautiful role models to our children or younger generations or just other people out there who see what's possible. And I know I recently shared with you, Kate, that my 21-year-old son had this opportunity to head overseas and go and see this hip hop concert, the biggest hip hop concert in the world in Florida, in Miami. And all his mates pull it out. He's like, I'm going to go on my own. He got VIP tickets, and it was all of his heroes that he'd had in his ears for the last decade of all up on stage, and he was really close to them. And I love that he took that concept on, because, I wish I had that at 21, rather than saying it's on my bucket list. Because I think you're right. Bucket list feels like when I'm old, The things I don't get a chance to do, I'll make sure that I do them all before I die. It's pretty morbid. And I think, you know, for me to share the concept with him, but he's also seen me do what I want to do at this stage in life, where I've gone, no, this is my next step. This is my goal. And I'm going to go out, start a business, you know, 8 years ago. Move to Melbourne now, you know, buy an investment property because wealth creation is important to me. So all the things that we are not only doing for ourselves, but I feel like we're actually being the inspiration perhaps for others, and definitely role modeling. You know, I'm quite excited for both my children to have this concept, and at such a young age, go for their dreams. I think it's really amazing.
I agree. And I so loved, Ness, that you shared that with him, and that he wrote to you and said, you know, I've ticked this off my life list. Honestly, it made my day. But I think also one of the questions I'm asked a lot, which has kind of, it's surprised me, but I've been asked it so often that there's an issue there. I've been asked this question, now that you're going and chasing after your life list and you're doing all this stuff, how do your kids feel about it? And I've been asked it a lot of times. And I think there's almost an assumption or a presumption that people think my kids might feel that they're being left behind, or they've been abandoned, or that I'm being selfish, and it's been a really interesting question for me to think about, because the absolute honest answer, and you've just said it yourself, Ness, is my kids are thrilled. They think it's bloody fantastic that I'm doing this stuff. You know, I've moved to Bali and they're cheering me. You know, I said to them, oh, you know, come, if you want to come and visit me. And my eldest came with his girlfriend, and they can see that I'm just so gung-ho about experiences that they had planned to climb a volcano in Lombok. And so they said, come and climb the volcano with us. You know, they invited me into their experience. And I don't think that's something that they would ever have done if they hadn't seen me just chasing down these goals. So this weekend just passed, we spent 2 days hiking this volcano. Honestly, guys, it was the hardest bloody thing I've ever done in my life. Day 2, we had to get up at 1:30 a.m. to hike the summit. From the crater rim to the summit was only about 8 kilometers. The last 300 meters took me an hour and a half. Like, the incline was like that. It was like climbing a rocky or a volcanic sand dune. It's one step forward and then you slide back. And they went ahead, and I almost gave up sort of 3 or 4 times. I thought, look, this is good enough. You've done enough. Just sit here and watch the sunrise. It'll be okay. And then no, come on, you could do it. And their faith in me, the fact that they'd invited me along, their enthusiasm, I thought, I have to do this for me, but I have to do it for them. And as I crested the summit, they were standing there, and honestly, it makes me emotional now. And they were so thrilled for me. And I burst into tears because I was just so exhausted, but so proud and so overwhelmed. My son burst into tears, and he did it, and we were all hugging. So for people, when they ask me, how do your kids feel about it? They're so proud. They think it's magnificent that I'm living my best life, and it makes me proud. And I am a role model for them, and they're loving it. So don't ever let someone else's perception of what your kids might think about your journey stop you from living your best life, because your kids are going to be thrilled that you're happy.
I think it's, wow, first of all, what a story. I feel like I'm emotional with you. I was so there with you. I feel like I can feel the summit and all of it. So thank you for sharing that. And it is such an interesting question. I'm a bit surprised that that's a common question that you're asked. And it also really shows, and it shows the cycles that need to be broken. Like, we talk a lot about these cycles that we need to break. And I love, for both of you, incredible, strong women, this role model that you are for your children, and that whole see to believe, you know, and for all the parents out there to be able to do that. And also for those of us that don't have kids, we can still make an impact around this. And that's important to remember, because it is about see to believe and inspiring each other through this action and living right now. I really love your concept of goals. It's not just the big planned ones and the big, hairy, audacious, even that is an example that you shared, the spontaneity in the moment. If we over plan, over organize, overthink, all of that, we don't have space for spontaneity. So actually bringing that into this hybrid of manifesting and taking action and planning to achieve goals is something that really stood out to me the first time I heard you speak as well, which is just, I think, amazing. And you can have it all. And this is about creating the business and the life that we want, that you want, that, the people that are listening, this is, you can be brave. And if you need examples, you've got some right here. So incredible. Thank you. I don't want this conversation to end. Okay, I'm just going to say, as I'm sure many people are thinking the same, I want to hear more. But if you are loving, obviously, this conversation, make sure you get a copy of the Life List. And we love to ask a question. First of all, where can people follow you? Where can people find you? Other than coming to Bali, which, I'm tempted, let's be honest. Right, turn around and see me in that co-working space. Wouldn't that be cool?
I know. Well, firstly, look me up and book up if you are in Bali. You can find me, just my name, katechristie.com.au is my website. And just Google the Life List. It's available in all bookstores. It's available online. So yes, and obviously I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook. So just Google me and you will find me.
We'll also, of course, put all those details in the show notes. So we'll make it very easy for people to come and find you. And something that's come up in this conversation, it reminds me of a conversation we had with Cindy Kennedy a few episodes ago around this concept of two things: being deliciously selfish and, hey, if not now, when? And also that when we achieve certain things or do certain things in life, that is a reflection of achieving business goals. Like the example that we talked about with Cindy was being able to do school pickup if you've got young kids. That's actually can be achieving a business goal. Living in Bali and working from Bali, that might be great. Like jumping on your motorbike after recording a podcast to go to yoga. That's a cool life thing, but that's a great business goal, and kind of vice versa. So that again just reaffirms Life List is, I guess, the blueprint to be able to really turn that into a reality. So we like to finish every episode with a final question around what is one actionable action, as we say, that our listeners and viewers can take in the next 24 hours to really start. And I think that for today, it's about to start living their Life List now. What's one thing that people can do?
Yeah, look, it's such a beautiful question, and it's an actionable question, which I really love. People can walk away and do. The one thing I would do is I would just sit down and reflect, take some time, and it could be as little as 5 minutes, it could be as long as 2 or 3 hours, and put pen to paper, commit pen to paper. Our brain is for strategy. It is not for storage. So you might have 1,000 thoughts floating around in your head of things you would love to add to your life list. Get them out of your head, get them onto paper. Just start writing the list. And I don't mind if you start with 1 thing or 5 things, or you sit there and create and have 100 things. Just take that first step, write down and start creating your life list. What is it that's going to make you feel like you're living your best life right now? And it can be business things, it can be lifestyle things, it can be health, wealth, whatever your passion is. Commit pen to paper and start your list, because we truly, truly need to stop putting things off till later. Later might be too late. Life is too short. It's time to live it now.
I love that so, so much. What a powerful message to end on. Thank you so much, Kate, for joining us. And I just implore people to go and grab your book and get that life list going. So yes, definitely start with your top things that you want to do, but that's just the beginning. And Kate does really help step you through the whole process that she went through in order to be able to make it happen. And you could also be in Bali working your best life.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. Thanks, Kate. Have a great yoga session. And to everyone else, we'll talk to you next week.